Now normally at home, I have a little container that I keep in my refrigerator that anytime I cook bacon, I save my drippings. But I don't have any of that here. So in here, I just have some bacon that I am crisping up. Cooking it down. Smells amazing, let me say. I mean, what doesn't smell or taste better when you add bacon? And in this container, I have just canned green beans. Now, if you are lucky enough to have a garden and you have your own home canned, by all means use those. But for today's purposes, and I think probably for the majority of us, we go to the grocery store and buy green beans. So that's what I have here. I have one of the big cans and two of the small cans because I'm feeding a lot of people, but this is one of my favorite things to eat. I can make a meal on green beans. And I know that they're fine if you have leftovers. They're great the next day, maybe even a little bit better the next day. But I'm gonna show you how you can have a delicious, delicious pot of green beans straight from the grocery store. Now, I just put them in. I'm gonna put them in there, drippings and all. Be careful because these have, of course, water and the fat is in there. And what I like to do is first put my green beans in and kind of toss them in the fat. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt, not much, because you gotta remember that the green beans themselves are, or the bacon rather, is salty. Let me get some pepper, add some freshly ground pepper, stir that together. Oh my goodness. Now, I like to add just a little bit of water. I don't want to cover them. I just want to kind of make sure there's enough. I'm going to bring that up to a simmer, and I'm just going to let that go for a long time while we're cooking. So just let those do their thing. Occasionally come in here. Make sure you scrape up the bottom to get all of those bits if you're using freshly cooked bacon. And then just let that go. Now, let's move over here and get started on our chicken. Now, a lot of people don't know how to fry good, crispy, crunchy, delicious chicken. And I'm gonna show you a couple of little tricks to help you get your chicken the way it should be. Now, I have in this bowl, you need a breading station. I have just some regular all-purpose flour, and I've added some salt, and I'm gonna add a good amount of pepper. And something I add is just a touch of paprika. You don't have to add the paprika to it, but it does add some flavor and some color. So I like to stir all that together. Get it incorporated. And in this bowl, I have just some half and half. You could use milk, you could use half and half, you could use buttermilk, you could use heavy cream, use what you have. And I'm gonna add some eggs. These are farm fresh eggs that are beautiful and oh so good. Look at those yolks, how yellow. This is courtesy of Mr. and Mrs. Bob Smallwood, so thank you for those eggs. They are beautiful. Now, I like to just poke the yolks to kind of break them up, and then just whisk all that together. This will act as a, for lack of a better term, glue for your breading to stick to. Let's just get all of that incorporated. Okay, now let's talk about our chicken. I am finding it hard to find bone-in chicken breasts. That's what I prefer. But today, we're gonna use boneless. I have a mixture of chicken legs and chicken breasts. I like to do this in an electric skillet for a couple of reasons. Unless you have a large stove top, it just crowds because you've got to use a big pan for this. So this is my electric skillet. If you have a cast iron pan, by all means, use that cast iron. Put in a neutral oil such as canola or vegetable. You want your oil to be at about 350 degrees. There's a couple of ways to tell if it's hot enough. My favorite way is to have an instant read thermometer. Don't touch the bottom of the pan. Just go into like the middle of the oil. And that will tell you if you're hot enough. Another way, if you don't have a thermometer, is just drop a bit of flour in. And you see how it's starting? That tells me it's perfectly good. Now let's talk about the chicken. I have here just some chicken legs. I have brined my chicken because trust me when I say it makes a huge difference. This is a non-negotiable. If you want juicy, delicious fried chicken, you have to brine it. I take about half a cup of salt, 4 quarts of water, stir it to dissolve, put the chicken in. Now, I let this brine overnight. But even as little as 30 minutes to an hour will make a huge difference in your chicken. What you want to do first is put your chicken in your flour, shake off the excess, keep one hand clean, one hand not because it's going to get gummy. Coat it in your liquid and then put it back in the flour. You are double coating that chicken, and that makes a huge difference. Now, I like to just set it to the side until I get a couple of them done. I check my chicken to make sure, there's no little stringy pieces or anything on there. Put it in there. If you let it set for just a minute before you put it in the oil, the coating will have a chance to adhere to the chicken. Now, let me just say, this is a messy job. That's why I have an apron on. Put your chicken in your skillet. And if you don't see that bubbling immediately, take it out of the oil because it is not hot enough. These are huge chicken legs. I start with the dark meat because it takes longer to cook. Just coat it all up. Get that liquid on there, drip off the excess, and then put it back in the flour and coat it. And oh, it's so good. My mouth is watering. I love fried chicken. I love it. My family loves it. That's their favorite thing, I think, for me to cook. But every year on their birthday, they get to choose what they want. And one of the three, usually it's Mike, he wants fried chicken. So I'm just gonna keep doing the same thing here to these chicken legs, get them in the skillet. When I come back, I'll show you what to do with the chicken breasts, and then we will start on our mashed potatoes. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, welcome back. Now, I'm out of room, so I've put another pot on the stove and got it heating up, and I'm just gonna finish breading my chicken, and I wanna show you why I said to keep one hand clean. And you'll see it in just a second. Okay, we've got our wonderful little chicken. I just pile it up. See my hand? That's why you want one hand with no flour on it. Now, I do like to take my chicken breasts, and if these were bone-in, I would cut them in half, this length or width-wise. I'll show you again. Because I find, you know, with a bone-in chicken, one side is fat and one side is skinny, and they won't cook evenly. But if you cut them in half this way, like this, let's see here, like this way, then you've got more evenly sized pieces, so you can take out the thinner side first. I like to take my chicken breasts, and if there are any little straggly bits like that, or like this, I cut them off. I don't typically find it as much with legs, but I do with chicken breasts. So, and if there are any little, sometimes, you know, in the processing plants, they miss a piece of a tendon or something, or cartilage, and so I like to make sure I get all that trimmed off. If you can find bone-in, that is my preference, but, you know, sometimes you just can't get what you're looking for. So we make do with what we have. And look in this skillet, how delicious that chicken is. I told you, this is messy. This is not one of those things that is just clean and easy to do. It's just not. So let me take this here, this and this, over to the sink, and wash my hands. So let's get rid of all of this. Get rid of the stuff on my hands, make some room. Remember, anytime that you are working with raw poultry, you have to keep your work surface clean, including your hands. So wash them often with soap and water. And I will wash them again in just a minute, because I am still dealing with chicken, but I want to get that floury stuff off there. Let's check our chicken in this pot. You see how it's starting to get golden? That's when you know it's ready to flip. Now, if you put your chicken in before it's ready to, the oil is hot enough, what's gonna happen is that chicken is gonna soak up that oil, and you are not gonna get crispy chicken. So turn it over. We're gonna turn it 2 or 3 times. Let that other side cook. You see how that's already starting to golden? Oh, so good. I like to be careful not to knock off any of that coating. You can do this in a deep fryer if you want to, but you know, most people don't have a deep fryer. Most people have a skillet, so I do my chicken in a skillet. And it's so good. I do suggest you wear an apron because you're frying. It's going to splatter. Now, let's get this chicken over here, and let's see if that oil, let's do it this way. Let's see if that oil is hot. Yep, and it is. So, we're gonna take our chicken and we're gonna lay it in the oil away from us. Do not, you know, you wanna be very careful not to splash yourself. This is very hot oil. And if I have one piece of advice to you, make more chicken than you think you need. Because I promise you, it's gonna get gone. And let me make room in this for these other 2 pieces. You don't wanna overcrowd your chicken, but I mean, you gotta nestle it in there. There's one leg. And we'll probably just have to fry him after we can remove one, because we've got a piece here that I don't have anywhere to put. Let's wash our hands again. Look at that golden crust on that chicken. That sizzle. So good. So, so good. All righty. Now, let's check on our green beans. Another thing about an electric skillet, I use mine all the time for various things, is you've got a temperature control over here. So you know, when the light comes on, you know you're at that range. So if you're a new beginning cook, that might be a good thing for you to have. Now, bring your green beans up to a simmer, just like this. And then I like to take the lid off and let that continue to simmer. The evaporation's gonna occur, the flavors are gonna concentrate, and it's gonna be delicious. I promise you it's going to be delicious. They are so, so good. So we're gonna let that go. I'm just gonna watch this chicken clean up my mess, see if I can squeeze that other piece in anywhere. And when I come back, we will get started on the mashed potatoes. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now our chicken is frying. I managed to fit that other piece in that skillet. Our green beans are simmering, and you gotta have mashed potatoes. Now I have here just some peeled russet potatoes, just regular Idaho potatoes. And this is how my mama did it. And this knife is not sharp, so let me grab another one. I have several of these little paring knives. These are Victorinox with the Fibrox handles. I love them. They are so good. Mama always just cut them into cubes like that. So that's the way I do it. You know, we tend to cook how we were taught. Sometimes people will cut them on the cutting board, and sometimes I do that too. I have 5 pounds here because, again, I got a crew of people behind the scenes that are real happy today because we're having fried chicken. I do get asked quite a bit what we do with all the food that we cook. Well, I'm not the only person here. I don't eat it all. Believe it or not, I get asked, do you eat all that food? No, I've got people behind the cameras here. I got 3 people right in front of me. We've got, the production team back there in the production room. Another person is here to help me with cleanup and stuff. So, it's not just me. And they get their lunch that day when we tape. I get asked quite often, is this my home kitchen? No, it's not my home kitchen. This is a set at our TV station. We started this program years ago in Abingdon. And we just, we continued it on, built this new set, changed it up. I love it. I'm just gonna slice these potatoes just like this. I'm gonna get them on the stove, bring them up to a boil, and then add my salt. Remember my golden rule, do not add salt to your pots until it comes to a boil. Otherwise, the salt will sink to the bottom of your pot and it can cause some damage. Not always. Let me show you another way. Sometimes we will take the potatoes and put them on a cutting board and cut them in half, just like this. You can do them either way, whatever works for you. And then use your little scooper to put them up. So I'm just gonna get these on the stove to boil. Let's check our chicken first. That's looking great. Let's check this chicken over here on the stove and turn them over. Oh my goodness, look at this beautiful golden crust starting. Yum, look at that. I cannot wait to eat this. And I have a great little trick for you to keep it crispy and golden once you take it out of the skillet. And I'll show you that in just a minute. I'll be back in just a second. All righty, now our chicken is done. I just kept flipping it gently until it got goldeny brown. I did check the inside temperature of each piece with my thermometer. I like my chicken to be at 180 degrees, period. Some people like it at 160. I like it at 180. So if it's at 178, you can go ahead and take it off because it's gonna keep rising a little bit. The key and vitally important to keeping your chicken crispy before you're ready to eat is not to take it out of the skillet and put it straight on a paper plate. You have to put it on a baking rack, and you can line it with, you know, some paper towels to collect the drippings. But if you put it straight on a plate or straight on a paper towel or something to absorb the excess grease, it's gonna get soggy. But if you leave it elevated, I promise you, it just stays so crispy and so good. And oh, I cannot wait to eat it. I've got the chicken breasts here and the legs here. And I always take a slotted spoon and go into the fat and pick off the little bits that fall off because that is so good. I'm not gonna waste that. They're delicious. So our potatoes are done. I just drained them. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. They cooked for maybe 15 minutes. Because we cut them smaller, they don't take as long. Now, you could use evaporated milk, which is what I grew up using, heavy cream, milk, or I have some half and half, so I'm gonna put a little bit of half and half in there, and butter. I've got about half a stick of butter. And to be honest with you, I might add some more at the end. I just have to see where we are. I mean, this is not a diet meal. This is a comfort meal. Mama always used a hand mixer like this, so that's what I do. And I just kind of mix it. This was my job when I was little. I always had to mash the potatoes. And I like mine creamy. I guess technically this would be whipped potatoes, but we just call them mashed. I'm gonna use the rest of that half and half because I've only got just maybe a couple of tablespoons left. I like them creamy. You can leave lumps if you want, up to you. Delicious, yummy, absolutely delicious. Something you do need to do is taste for seasoning. Perfect. They don't need salt, they don't need anything. They are really good. So there's some wonderful whipped potatoes. Our green beans, we just let simmer till most of that water has evaporated. You could let them go a few more minutes if you wanted to. And I spooned some out onto my plate. Then let's take some of those wonderful mashed potatoes. So good. And then chicken. I mean, what do you like? Do you like dark meat? Do you like white meat? I'm a white meat gal. But, you know, some people, my one son, Aaron, loves legs. Mike loves legs. Austin and I are breast people. So it's up to you, whatever you like. We'll do both on the plate here. That is a breast, and here, let's pick a good leg. Which leg should we pick? Oh, let's go for this guy. Look how crunchy and crispy and delicious that chicken is. So some secrets are brine it. Absolutely essential that you brine it. Double dip it, put it in flour, then in your egg mixture, back in your flour, let it sit for just a minute. Make sure your oil is hot at least 350 before you put your chicken in there. Turn it gently as often as you need it. Make sure the oil comes up about halfway up the chicken so that both sides will get cooked at the same rate. When you take it out, when it's done, put it on a wire rack and let it drain onto paper towels. Otherwise, you're gonna have soggy chicken. And I mean, even though that's still delicious, part of the deliciousness of chicken is that crunchy outer layer. So there you go, a Southern meal anyone would be happy to eat at any time. Thank you for joining with me, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna. everybody. We have a brand new Everyday Manna cookbook for you. It's Everyday Manna's Southern Style, 180 brand new recipes. All the things that you would find if you are fortunate enough to eat or live in the South. Southern style recipes from my kitchen to yours, easy to do, things that you can make any day of the week, like a peanut butter sheet cake, topped with homemade peanut butter dressing, potato soup, chicken and rice casserole, a sour cream coconut cake, all of the delicious recipes from my kitchen to yours. It can be yours today for your gift of $50 or more to Living Faith Television. Make sure that you write on your check, your money order, or put a note in there that you want the brand new 180 recipe Southern style cookbooks. Just say Southern, we'll know what you mean. Thank you for supporting Christian television. We love and appreciate you so much.
It's been a long time coming, seeming like we all been running, feeling like the Wild West gunning, listen to our elders shunning, all we see is faces